Salutations, my fellow dudes and dudettes, and welcome to the finale of Kirby's Adventure. Now we're in the Rainbow Resort. Although you couldn't tell that for a second because the rainbow is literally blocking the words. I think it would have made more sense for the rainbow to be in the foreground. I'm at the background, I'm sorry. But we got a space-like level, so this is a very pretty aesthetic. It's also my favorite looking level in the entire game. Well, like as a whole, not just like level 1 individually. So unfortunately this part is a day late, yeah, this part is going to be a day late because, had some family's, business to take care of. Nothing bad, just, we arranged some plans to, do some stuff yesterday, so that's why the part didn't pop up then. But thankfully we can wrap this game up, and I'm looking forward to the ending because that means I can move on to my next project. But more on that later. Now, as I said, World 6 is where the enemy placement starts to rear its ugly head, and it can be really frustrating at points. However, in my personal opinion, World 7 Rainbow Resort doesn't really give me too much of a problem when it comes to the enemy placement. The level design is going to be significantly harder than any of the other levels because, well, it's the final level, it's to be expected. But I didn't have as much of a problem with enemy placement as I did with World 6. I wasn't frustrated at any point with this world. I think you're gonna need Sword Kirby or something to get up there. Yeah, some of these blue blocks are actually breakable, but you can't. You obviously can't tell because they all look the same. Not to sound racist to blue blocks, but that's just how it is. Ow, that wasn't very nice. And since this is the last world / last part, this is also going to be the longest part of the LP because we got a lot going on with this level. However, with the next level in question, I'm actually going to be speeding things up a bit because we got a little mini boss rush. So I'm just going to be speeding through all of this. You've already seen what these bosses are capable of. I'm just getting through it really quickly because I already went over these mini bosses. There's no reason to go over them again. You've got the hammer guy, Frosty, the beetle dude, this guy. Again, I don't know most of their names. I apologize. Yeah, Bonkers, Buzzy Beetle, I'm just gonna say. And that Leon with the fireball ability. So yeah. The mic ability is actually going to be quite useful there. Like when you beat the bell thing, whatever it's called, you'll get the mic ability and you can take out the next two bosses no problem. I believe they're Frosty and Bonkers, and then you'll be able to use the hammer copy ability from Bonkers and get through the other bosses just fine. And this tends to happen with a lot of Kirby games. There's always like a sequence of mini boss rushes. Alright, you want to be careful in this section because there's a lot of sleeping enemies. It's not like they're overly dangerous, but obviously inhaling them will cause you to go into Sleep Kirby. And keep in mind that Sleep Kirby is automatic. Like if you inhale an enemy, Kirby will just automatically use the copy ability for some reason. This is the only enemy where Kirby just instantly digests the enemy and gets the ability. I don't understand why. I guess it's a penalty for just simply trying to inhale the enemy and seeing what kind of ability you get. I do believe if you can suck up 2 or more enemies, you can still get the mix and mash possibility, so you can get a random copy ability. But I wouldn't recommend it because well, there's really no reason to, honestly. it's not like you're gonna get a lot of mileage out of the copy abilities for the remainder of this level, because the level design is pretty straightforward. And that last section, since there's so many since it's almost entirely a bottomless pit, the only copy ability that'll probably be useful is this one right here, Parasol, and we got out of room too late, so. But yeah, Sleep Kirby, I think I mentioned this before, it's instantaneous. Kirby falls asleep, nothing happens. You're basically just standing there, sitting there, just waiting for Kirby to wake up. And in certain cases, that could be very dangerous. With the boss of World 6, that was practically an instant death because it was an auto scroller. But with these levels, you're just at a higher risk of being attacked. Unless if we're talking about that room where all the sleeping enemies are, because there's like only one actively, there's only one enemy that actively attacks you. All the other enemies just sort of sit there and sleep. So it's more or less just there to waste your time. One more kind of copy. Fire! That's not too exciting, but I got it. And mixing and mashing is the only other way to really get UFO without having to reset the game to reload those enemies. And I died. I also do not believe that UFO Kirby makes an appearance in this level at all. I mean, it would make sense if it did. I'm only guessing. I do not remember. I recorded this quite a while ago. Because I already recorded the majority of the main playthrough of the next game that I'm doing. And I am going to be working on the project that comes after that very soon. So yeah, it's been a while, so I don't exactly remember if the UFO actually appears in this stage. I'm very certain that it does not, though. I don't find Spark Kirby too useful here because, well, as you just saw, why did I leave that death in? Whatever, this room's not too huge. The problem is when you use whenever I use Spark Kirby, I always try to dash first, then Spark Kirby. But whenever you do that, Kirby still carries the momentum from the dashing. So it's not like when you start using Spark, Kirby just comes to an immediate stop. No, he's still sliding across the floor. And for that room, that's kind of dangerous. And I got an extra life. See, I did say I told you I could show it off at least once. I say that, I probably did it in a previous part, and I just don't remember already. But just like all the other worlds we've done so far, there's 6 levels in total. I figured I would have assumed there would be like 7 considering it's the final world, but I guess that just wasn't the case. Want to be careful here because, as you can clearly see, there's crash bomb enemies all over the place. However, carry one with you so you can make quick work of this guy right here. It's just a shame that you're not going to get any use out of this power, out of the wheel ability because, give it a second. Well, for one, I died. Remember when I said that if you get attacked, there's a lot of knockback, and that can easily cause you to fall into a bottomless pit? This is one of the biggest offenders in the game, for that, because like during my test playthrough, I think I lost like 3 lives here because I would get attacked by one of the enemies that came up on screen, those fireball enemies specifically. And like I would get burned and I wouldn't be able to recover, and then there goes Kirby just falling off and falling all the way down to the bottomless pit. This part's really tricky. You're gonna want to use fireball for this, I think. I don't manage to get this cannon off, but you are gonna have to be super fast with that. Fire Kirby might be able to do it because you can do it from a distance and get a slight head start. But again, I didn't get that. There's only one switch I unlock, and it's kind of an obvious. It's kind of obvious to find it. If you've played Kirby for a while, like heck before this game. But you know how I was ranting about Kirby's need for constantly use the nostalgia to its advantage? Like it milks its nostalgia? Well, welcome back to Kirby's Dreamland, dudes and dudettes. And it's gray, black, and white glory. Like every level from Kirby's Dreamland is here in a little smaller version, obviously. It's not saying much because that those levels were still small anyways. I did that LP in 2 parts after all. But yeah, we got Wispy Woods, we got Lolo Castle, we got Bubbly Clouds, we got I forget what the other level was called, unfortunately. It's like Bubbly Clouds, Lolo Castle, Wispy Woods. Yeah, I don't remember that last one. I don't remember that. I don't remember the 3rd level on. Oh, darn. I just LP'd that. Well, these levels aren't much different from their actual counterparts. They're all relatively the same. If you remember the level design from Dreamland, then you'll know exactly how to get through these levels. Because for what it's worth, not only do they try to match the aesthetic, they also try to match the level design itself. Like, I remember this part with all the stupid explosive cap bomb things. And then there's the final area. I think this is Bubbly Clouds. And I believe this is also where the secret is. And Kirby loves to do this sort of thing. I showed it off during the Dreamland playthrough, but you know how it is. Go behind the moon, you'll find a secret. And this is where you're gonna find the switch. Unfortunately, it doesn't unlock anything too exciting. All it does is give you a warp zone, so you can go back to any of the previous zones. I'm not gonna. I mean, I guess you can go back to previous worlds and go into the museum so you can get a copy ability, because we got the end game coming up, folks. It's time to get that last shard from King Dedede and put the Star Rod back in its place. Now, Dedede isn't too radically different from his Dreamland battle. However, he has he has 2 new attacks. As you just saw, he can actually do a hammer attack in the air. He's also able to inflate himself like Kirby does, and he's able to shoot out a little small gust of air like Kirby does. It's not too hard to dodge. Just run underneath him whenever he's floating. Like, run from one side to the other, and you should be just fine. My problem with this boss is that, just like the boss in Dreamland, he's got so much health, so this boss can actually take a while. He also does that attack where he just goes crazy with the hammer and starts smacking the ground a whole bunch of times. But otherwise, that's about it. He's got the suck ability. He does a little belly slide attack. He'll hit you with your hammer. If you can bait him out, you can dodge the hammer attack easily and use the star he leaves as a projectile. Unfortunately, it can be a little hard to predict him when he's attacking, because sometimes the animations that he does, like with that slide attack, sometimes he'll do the slide attack and other times he'll suck you in, and sometimes that can catch you off guard because you're not exactly sure which attack he's going to do. Like there, I thought he was going to do his inhale attack, but I was wrong. And now that we got the Star Rod, we can finally put it back where it belongs. King Dedede. What do you mean, no? I went through the trouble of putting it back together. What's the matter? Like, seriously. There we go. We got, but oh, King Dedede's kind of freaked out. What's going on? Well, King Dedede and Kirby are in a panic. What happened? So apparently the reason why King Dedede split the Star Rod into pieces is because this thing known as Nightmare has invaded Dreamland and has sort of hid himself inside the Star Rod, and the only way to keep this Nightmare thing at bay was apparently to separate the Star Rod into a bunch of pieces. So this whole time, King Dedede has been looking out for us. On one hand, yeah, King Dedede was doing his part, trying to keep us safe. But on the other hand, maybe you should have just told Kirby what was going on. That probably could have saved us the trouble, and maybe Kirby would have been like, well, I'm gonna fight this guy so we can get our dreams back. Because that's basically what's going on here. That's a little shoot, that's a 2D shooter section. Just avoid the stars whenever they shoot at you. And that's about it. You're gonna want to rapidly press the shoot button, which is the inhale button. If you don't do it fast enough, the screen will essentially kill you because you have a time limit before the screen. You essentially get crushed. So you want to be careful with that. But anyway, now it's time for Nightmare in his purest form. For one, I love this music track. It's so epic. Now, Kirby automatically has the Star Rod attack. You can't get other copy abilities with this. All you can really do, you can attack like you would with the sword and hammer Kirby form, but you shoot projectiles whenever you attack. And you're going to want to use those projectiles as a means to fight this guy. Because you might have noticed that little glowy core he's got underneath his little cape. That's what you need to aim for. Otherwise, Nightmare will not take damage. And since the Star Rod is pretty much required, you never lose it if you take damage. I'm honestly cutting it a bit close here. Alright, so let's go over the Wizard. Nightmare in terms of attack patterns. He's basically just going to teleport all over the place and shoot a bunch of stars everywhere. Depending on where he's positioned will determine like how he's going to attack you. If he starts attacking from above, he'll shoot stars like in both directions. Like a spreader attack. And if he's on the left or right, he'll shoot them straight down. He's also got this attack where he goes up into the sky and tries to ground pound you. Not too bad, as long as you attack him as he gets to the bottom, you should be fine. Hitting him with projectiles will also do more damage than simply slapping him silly with the Star Rod. And you can also destroy the projectiles with the Star Rod attacks. And that's it. Now this boss isn't necessarily easy, I just made it look easy. It'll give you a bit of trouble, especially considering it teleports all over the place. It's very unpredictable as to what it's going to do. You just have to learn, like, what those you just have to learn how he attacks. Like, whenever he's on the left or right, or, like, at the top of the screen. Just memorize how he attacks and you should be fine. Kirby fought to find the Star Rod. But King Dedede did not mean any harm. Bad dreams had invaded Dreamland. A nightmare came to the Dream Spring and tried to cause pain to the people. Dedede failed the nightmare by hiding the Star Rod from him. That was a real grammatical error. Dedede helped Kirby beat the nightmare, and by that he just shot him up into the air so Kirby could fight him. Now, everyone's dreams will return. Tonight, Dreamland will sleep well. And that's it. Again, it probably would have been easier if King Dedede or any of his minions told us, it's like, hey, we're trying to keep this nightmare thing at bay. And I gotta wonder, Meta Knight held a piece of this as well. Why didn't he say anything about that? Talk about keeping me in the dark, Meta Knight, jeez. But we managed to defeat the nightmare, and we returned all the dreams back. So, woo! We did it! And that, dudes and dudettes, was Kirby's Adventure. A very good solo follow-up to Kirby's Dream Land. Because where Kirby's Dream Land was a very standard platformer, it didn't stick out from the crowd. However, with this game, introducing the copy ability opened a lot of possibilities for gameplay, because you could use, there were so many, there's 20 copy abilities in all, there's plenty of ways to approach any situation, and I absolutely dig that. My only biggest issue with with Kirby's Adventure, at least, is the enemy placement, specifically around starting World 4, like near the end of World 4, where it starts to get a little annoying. 5 and 6 is where it's actually pretty bad. And it's actually where I was getting most of my frustration. I never really played this game up until this point, so I didn't know what to expect, but clearly I was getting myself into a chaotic mess, clearly. But overall, this game is significantly better than Dreamland, and the copy ability is carried over to all the Kirby games up to this point in the present day. And not to mention, there's also the remake for this game that was made on the Game Boy Advance several years later. I want to say 2004 it was made. Kirby's Nightmare Dreamland, which is a legitimate remake of Kirby's Adventure. I do believe there is a harder version of this game as well. If you get all the switches, you'll be able to unlock the expert mode, but instead of actually changing enemies and whatnot, it just cuts your HP in half. So that's not too exciting. So there's no real reason to go back and play this game again, unless you want to go for that 100%, but I don't feel the need to. It's not, if it unlocked like an actual like extra thing to do instead of just playing the game over again with a handicap, I probably would have went for it. But alas, that's not the case. But yeah, that was Kirby's Adventure. I hope you all enjoyed the LP. For the next project in mind, I've been wanting to do this game for quite a while since I started this channel. The franchise with this game is it's had a rocky relationship for several years now, and it's actually the only franchise in my from my standing that's rebooted itself twice. So we're actually gonna be checking out that first reboot. You probably already guessed what it might be. So until then, I'm Sonic 007. I got a juice.